Hi, everyone. Welcome back. And I have the lovely Nikki Berkel. Am I
Yes,
saying that right?
you are.
The number of names I've had to try to pronounce has been amazing, and I have failed.
Well, you got it right this time.
Yes. Success. So today, Miss Nikki is going to be talking with us on the topics of fear and perfectionism. And Nikki is currently a business coach who helps clients clarify their message, create a market plan, create a free lead magnet, wow, and set up an email nurture sequence. I gotta stop laughing. That's the magnet.
Perfectionism, what? It's okay.
Yes. And she is in the early phases of creating a step-by-step group training to help coaches learn how to use email marketing with MailChimp and ConvertKit. Oh, good Lord, right?
Yeah.
Anybody who's starting a business will know that is much needed. All
Agreed.
right. So I've spoken a little bit with Nikki, and it sounds like she has a pretty awesome story actually to tell regarding leaving a corporate job and becoming a full-time coach. So tell us what happened.
Oh my goodness. So it was a painfully slow process. I took life coach training in 2016 and it rocked my world in many ways. And I knew before I had gotten into training that I really wanted to work for myself and be a business owner. And I had no idea what that really meant. And I also knew that that I was lost in how to move forward, and so it took me for forever. And so one of the great things that with the company I was working for is they allowed me to like really slowly transition out because they still needed my help.
Wow.
I still needed the income, and so I was so grateful for this really slow transition. It was also a bit painful though because I was so ready to just like get full throttle in my business. And so finally last November, I was finished. I had ratcheted all the way back to 1 day a week by that point, and then it was done. We were finished working together. And so the niche that I chose to work in was coaching moms and really helping them like release mom guilt and do these things. And so I dived right in, and my previous role with all of the careers, I mean, because I've had a few different varieties, all in accounting or finance, definitely an office type work. And all of them, I had been in charge of a lot of things, wearing many hats, doing a lot of different tasks, mixing with people. And then I come to go full time and I'm working from home and I am doing some coaching and I am instantly like hit with this realization of, oh no, I'm not happy. This was supposed to make me happier and it's not. Like, what is going on? And so I went through this really slow process of don't freak out. Like, what are you going to do? And so I don't think it's a coincidence, but as a result of that, I had been able to get paying clients, and then I literally was hitting a dry spout. And so here I was, a new full-time coach, wasn't able to keep the revenue going, was unhappy, I was lit up on some of my coaching calls, but it wasn't enough to keep me going. And so I just was beside myself, and I went through this process of distracting myself. Like I wrote an ebook and I was like, okay, let me try this and just see what and so I did all these things that just were desperate attempts to keep it going, but they weren't enough to keep money coming along. And so eventually I ran out of money, and my husband was like, because we've always been a dual income family, he's beside himself going, what's next? What are we going to do?
Oh, no.
And, I had spent so much money to start my business, all the training and all these things.
Yes.
And so it was just like, oh my gosh, talk about a fear of failure. And it's funny because I didn't have a fear of failure so much in the beginning when I was getting ready to leave that corporate job to come and do my full-time coaching. But when I was in the midst of it and didn't have that safety net, then I was really freaking out and like worried about failure.
Yes, I could definitely see what that would, I would be. I feel it like welling up, swelling up in me. I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah. And so it really took me, I went through a bit of a grieving process, I would say, because I was just so upset that it wasn't working and I didn't know what to do. And so I kind of just took some time for myself and I said, okay, like what's making you happy? What do you want to work on? And I kind of like was reflecting and I realized, gosh, I have dived into learning all of these systems for my own business. And when I was done with coach training and trying to get things set up, I dived into email marketing strategies and concepts, and I was like addicted. I was having my book on the coffee table and I was just reading, and on the weekends it was webinars. And I said, you know what, I really find that fascinating, so let me see if there's any coaches who are struggling or just straight up do not like to do those things, and if they need any help, I can help them. At least that will save me from having to go back to work, in air quotes, but find that full-time job that I was trying to avoid. And so I did that, and that really speaks to, I would say, the perfectionism piece, because here is my website. I'm a life coach for moms. That's how I am on the internet right now, right this very moment. And I had to really put aside that perfectionism and say to myself, you know what, just contact some people and ask them if they need help. Be really nice, be clear about what you can offer, and see if they need help, right? That's what I did. And it worked. It worked. And so I have been able to get clients and some amazing referrals, and I still don't have my website up. Like that fear of perfectionism. And I remember this, I have this quote on my board, which was from coach training, because, you know, when we took coach training, and one of my instructors said, because everyone's getting spinning out about starting their business and getting business and all of this. And she said, so simply, all you really need to coach is one person to coach. Like, yes, of course, you get to the point where you need a website and you need these things, but it's putting the cart before the horse sometimes. And it's like, you can do both at the same time, but I tried on that model for size this time, the second time around, and I found great success with that so far, versus my other one. I maybe spent a little too much time going after the systems and not enough time, just looking for people to coach and doing it that simple manner. And it has just made all the difference in the world, and I'm loving it. So right now I have this beautiful blend of actually coaching people to help them clarify their message, because that's a tricky thing to do. And it requires a lot of those coaching questions of looking in and asking for clarity and asking why. And then also it gives me the ability to connect those pieces, which I'm enjoying thoroughly. So it's been crazy. So fear of perfection, or fear of failure at first, swindled into ditching the perfectionism and just trying to go forward anyway.
I love that. And I love that you speak on that point of, you don't have to have what, I don't want to say what society says, but you are told that you must have all these things in order to be successful. Yeah. And you don't, and as a matter of fact, what you just described is exactly what's been happening to me. My website does not reflect what I do now. And I had to do the same thing. I had to say, okay, you're just not what's important right now. What's important is this right here. And when I get done with this, I'll move on to the next step, and as I stay focused, I naturally come up to the next steps that need to be taken at that time, instead of completely stressing out and being like, oh my God, I got to have it all done right now today, or else I'll never be successful.
Yes.
So you give me
the website has to be perfect. I have to have this copy perfect on my website, this link so people can pay me.
Exactly.
Website that there's no traffic on right now.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. So when you were going through your fear of failure, did you use any sort of strategies in order to kind of help propel you through that fear?
Oh my gosh, yes. So thank goodness for learning thought work and coach training, and also a couple of other tools. So one of the things that I used on a daily basis would be journaling. And so if I was feeling upset or worried, I would journal about it, because I don't know, I didn't feel like being a broken record all the time, complaining to everybody in my life about how my business wasn't doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And that stings for sure when you're having to admit that something isn't going right.
Yes.
And so I really turned to journaling to really get out all of it. And so I tried to focus on, if I was feeling like a failure, I tried to focus on the positive outcome of it. And so I would say, yep, I'm feeling pretty bad about this. And I would honor that feeling and be sad. And then I would also say, and here's what I learned from it. And so even though it did stink, like I learned so much more about my work style at home.
Mm-hmm.
Working from home has been a whole different set of challenges than I even realized. And I expected some, but I didn't expect everything. And so when I would journal, I would really work on my thoughts, like, okay, I feel like I'm a failure right now, and I would really make a list of the proof of all the things that meant that I wasn't a failure, instead
Mm-hmm.
of trying to let my brain go through the rabbit hole of why I was a failure.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what that led me to it every single time was that I would rather have failed, and I do use air quotes because I use that term loosely. I would rather have failed on something that I tried to do to change my life, to change other people's life, like to better myself and my situation, my future, income and business, than to have stayed feeling stuck in my corporate job where I was like staring at my screen half the day, not wanting to do any of the work I had in front of me. And so, like when I compare the two, I'll take the second one all day long, because all it was is a redirection.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I have to definitely pay attention to that. Another thing that I did through like journaling would be for the fear or for the perfectionism piece.
Mm-hmm.
When I would find myself saying those things like, oh, but you don't have a website set up yet. Oh, but you don't have packages yet. Because I just offered services to somebody, and somebody was like, oh, well, how much do you charge? And I was like, well, how about this? Like, I had really minimal pre-planning, which is so not my style. I'm a crazy type A planner.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did was I started low, and
Mm-hmm.
I reinforced and built up my belief that I could charge clients for this and do this type of work. And so through that process, I've been able to increase and do more and do more. And I think that's it. Start charging $10. And if that's what it takes to prove to you that somebody will pay $10 for your service, cool. Now you believe that somebody will pay you $10.
That's
and then
awesome.
the next one, charge them 20.
Yeah.
I don't care where you start, but just start somewhere. And so then when I would really feel hesitation, like, oh, I don't want to message that person, like I'm going to be bothering them, and I maybe have messaged them once ever and didn't hear back.
Mm-hmm.
I would be like, oh, but I don't want to be salesy, I don't want to be creepy, and I don't want them to be irritated with me. And I would ask myself, do I have any proof that that's how that person is feeling or reacting of me?
Mm-hmm.
And I never do. I've never had anybody say to me, you know what, you're being salesy, you're being creepy, don't follow up with me, don't contact me. If anything, people have said, hey, this is really great. I'm not in this situation right now. I don't need the help, but maybe in a couple months we could circle back and talk again. Like that's what I've gotten. If it wasn't a yes, I've gotten, hey, this is great, but not right now. And so here I could be sitting at my computer, so scared and worried about offending everybody and offering my services. And a lot of them have actually needed help with those things. So, we have to take that mindset of, by not offering your services at least once or twice, you're doing them a disservice, because they probably need help. And it's a pain in the butt to try to find somebody that specializes in what you're looking for. It's kind of like looking for a plumber that you trust. Like, you just don't know. And there's a whole procrastination bit to it. So.
Yes. I love your strategies. Those are awesome. And they're so different. So I like that. I had to write, so I was actually wrote some of them down because I was like, those are awesome ideas and they're simple ideas.
That's what I love about them. They're short. Like I like things that deliver results really quickly. And that will, when I ask myself those questions, it really pulls me out of the woe is me scenario quickly.
Yep. I do this thing where, and it's going to probably sound crazy, but I'm like, if I start to get into a rut where I'm like, I don't know, this isn't going anywhere. Should I just give up now? I always ask myself, if someone told me today, like in 1 year, you're going to be dead, what am I going to do? Am I going to take life by the horns and just run with it as hard as I possibly can? Or am I going to just sit here in my chair and be like, oh, well, maybe I should give up? And I know my answer. If someone was to tell me that, I'm grabbing everything by the horns, and I am running as hard as I can with it. And so it immediately makes me want to get up and just start going again, because, there's this quote I have that's like, be careful how you spend your day, because you're paying a day of your life for it. So make sure what you spend your day on, is worthwhile, because you've paid a day for it.
Paid your day. Oh, that's a good one. And it's so true. And I agree. I think one of the things that entrepreneurs, especially not just coaches, but entrepreneurs in general, get caught up on is how long things can take. And now that's not true for everyone. Everyone's got a different situation. For me, it has taken a long time, because in my situation, I took a half a day off of work to work on coach training, and I have a family. And so it was like slicing my time, and I gave up party planning. And I said, people, you family are going to have to figure this stuff out. I'm not doing it because I'm focusing on my business. And it still took a long time to get through and be focused and do all those things. And I ran into an entrepreneur at a coffee shop the other day. And he was telling me about an app that he was working on, and he was so excited about it. And I could totally tell that he was really proud. And so he was explaining it to me. And then he was like, yeah, we've been working on it for a while. And so whatever the conversation went into. And so my question was, oh, cool. How long is a while for you? How long have you been working on this? And he said, 4 years. And this app is not even launched or ready. They're still in this phase. And I thought, man, what a good reminder. So here is this guy working at his computer, app development, whatever he's doing, testing and all this stuff. He's been working on this same app for 4 years, and it's not done yet. And it's that's just sometimes what it takes. You've got, to do all that work without getting that return, and just know that it's going to come. You're going to figure it out, and you're going to get there.
Yes, that is a good reminder.
4
years. You must be really dedicated.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so what is one piece of advice you would give to another person struggling with these fears?
So I would write them out. First of all, what is it that you're really afraid of? Because it's typically, deeper than what you think it is. And then ultimately ask yourself if you have any proof of that. Do you have any proof that you're not going to be able to X, Y, or Z? And, a lot of the times I have found for myself that if I'm working on a program or trying to do something, I occasionally will get stuck in my head and really stressed about being able to finish it and if it's going to work or not. And when I can take a step back, it's always because I'm worried about failing. It's because I'm worried, what happens if I'm not able to do this? And when I can step back and really ask myself and ask if I have any proof of it, it's always a no. It's either, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this, therefore I'm not going to be able to make money, therefore I can't pay the mortgage. It goes down this spiral, or I'm going to disappoint this client, and then I'm never going to get any clients, and then they're going to leave me a bad review. All of these things, and it's all just in my head. It doesn't actually exist anywhere else. And so if I can if I can give advice, it would be just ask yourself if you have any proof of that. It's 90% or more. It's a no. You have no.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to ask you where people can find you these days, but it sounds like email is the best route.
100%, because I don't have my website set up for this new endeavor, which it's coming soon, but my calendar has been growing, greatly with clients. And so it's like you said, yes, that's a priority, but there are other priorities that are coming beforehand. And so I'm still able to do the work that I'm doing without a working website. And
Which
so
is awesome.
email is definitely the best way to find me right now. Yeah, it's already set up. It's just there.
So do you work with just any entrepreneur? Like, do you want to go a little bit maybe into who your ideal client is?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll back up because I forgot to say what my email address was. It's nikki@nikkiberkel.com. And the entrepreneurs that I'm working with are specifically health and wellness coaches. So life coaches, weight loss coaches, any essential oils, really a lot of that health and wellness space, and people who are really trying to be of service to others and who are willing to move forward and try some things and experiment and know that a lot of the battle is you just have to get started and you have to try something so that you can get the feedback that tells you whether what you're trying is the right thing or not. And then you can know that you need to go to step 2 and really stay in that course of figuring out that first piece and staying consistent before you know whether or not it's working. Because I know what I have experienced and what I have discussed with a lot of the clients I'm working with is they want the results to be so fast that they're jumping ship like immediately when they try something. And I think that there's a few fixes to that. And one of that pieces is market research and validation, which is something that we aren't really taught in this space. Which I believe that if you have it in your heart to serve and to coach, then yes, you can find somebody to coach. And I also believe in the strategy behind it, which is you've got to package it in a way that's going to make somebody want to pay you for it. And not everything fits that mold, and you have to find something that does fit that mold. And yeah, absolutely.
All right then. Well, thank you so much for all your information and for your time. You've given out quite a bit.
Anytime. I love it.
Alrighty then. So we're going to go ahead and say goodbye, and hopefully we'll hear from you again some other time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.